Hello, hello, hello. It is me, your true ill phenom, SP3. We are back once again with another Dark Side of the Ring Season 1 review. This time we are reviewing the mysterious death of gorgeous Gino, chronicling the mysterious and tragic death of the famous professional wrestler, gorgeous Gino Hernandez. I am back once again with the princess of all the true hills, Miss Chrissy Love.
Hi,
What's
people.
up,
What's going
girl?
on? What's up? What's up?
And we are joined once again by our resident True Hill alcoholic, Mr. Top Guy JJ.
What's up?
Keeping it fresh for the summer.
It looks
So
delicious.
if you've been joining us for all our Dark Side of the Ring reviews, we are almost winding down with our second. This is our second to last for season 1 of Dark Side of the Ring. So if you haven't already, you can go back and watch the rest of the playlist for all of our reviews of season 1, as well as the rest of season 2. And of course, down at the bottom, you want to push that like button, show your support for this series. This has been one of our most viewed series on the True Hill Heat YouTube channel, so we appreciate your support. And the iCard down at the bottom, you can push that to subscribe and the bell to stay notified for all the great content right here on True Hill Heat. So, guys, this one was a sad episode. This was a lot to divulge. It was a mystery that's been going on for years and years and years that we hear from Gino's family directly. So, Chrissy Love, as we start off every episode, I gotta hear your thoughts on the episode overall before we get into anything.
This one was a sad one. Like, it started off like really high, and then like the ball just was rolling and just went sad, and just was just like damn. Like, I was just like sitting there the whole, like, this wasn't like a happy, nice episode. Like, it was just sad the whole, like, after like the first 15 minutes, it was over. Like, you was just like, that's it. It was sad. That's it. That's all I got from it. And I felt so bad for his mother, Miss Patricia, poor thing, who was looking really nice, real all set up, real cute and whatnot. But I felt so bad for that lady.
How about you, Top Guy JJ?
I'm like, wow. I mean, wow. I did this one was weird. Like, this one was, first of all, I was like, yo, this guy is really cool. I was like, I was like, yo, he got one of those video game moves that looks like a move gone wrong, but it looked really cool. That backwards elbow looks freaking awesome. Like that, I was like, this is like so unique. I'm surprised no one has stole that. And he's literally our generation. He's like back then's, like, reminded me of MJF so much.
Absolutely.
And then this is, mind you, this is back in the 80s, 70s and 80s, and this guy is so far ahead of his time and 28 years old. And then it just goes downhill from here. And then it's like, did I even get any answers?
No.
We will go through the journey. Let's take them on our journey that we took watching this episode. So the episode starts off talking about the date in question. February 5th, 1986 was the date that Gino Hernandez was murdered at his home. We are shown a couple of the talking heads to start off is David Manning, back once again after the last of the Von Erichs episode. He was the former referee and booker for World Class Championship Wrestling, where Gino Hernandez performed. Manning puts Gino in the category of Ric Flair, Michael P.S. Hayes, and Jim Cornette. Some rarefied air right there, as just giving them a microphone and they can just go and just sell the place and make everybody want to see them get their ass kicked. Bruce, we are shown the infamous host of Something to Wrestle With and the creative director for both Raw and SmackDown currently, Bruce Pritchard. He talks about meeting Gino all in Houston, Texas when he was only 18 years old, and him being very young. Gino treated him like a kid. He just used to basically treat him like some mark on the wrestling organization there. Gino's stepfather was Luis Hernandez, as told by his mother Patrice. Patrice was by far the MVP of this episode. Just
Not even
hearing
close, hands down.
by hearing like everything that she went through, she definitely deserves that honor. Gino Hernandez's real name was Charles Wolf, and they show an early interview where he speaks about his father teaching him how to wrestle and him wrestling from a very young age. Gino told his mother that his father did everything for him because he was wearing his shoes even after Gino's stepfather passed away. He felt that he felt his father with him every time he was in the ring. We met that Gino's wife, whose name was Janice Gillespie, and speaks about Gino keeping his professional life separate from his home life. So, you're a wife yourself, Miss Chrissy Love. What do you think about we hear the stories all the time about wrestlers who, can't keep their in-ring personas out of their real life and their home life. How do you feel? What is your perspective on the difference between someone who can't keep it out of their home life and someone who kept it separate like Gino?
It's pretty sad because you have this life and you go to work and you're supposed to come back and be done with work and leave work where it is and then come back to your family. And it's unfortunate that he couldn't turn off that switch to be the family man, to be the person that's supposed to be, take care of the house when you're home. And it's sad that, his wife and, they kind of like didn't work out because he always wanted to be Gino.
Well, she said for the most part he kept it. He was able to keep his home life separate from his professional life. But we hear so often that the wrestlers really couldn't do that. So, the fact that she was able to say something nice in the fact that he was able to keep her separate for a short time, of course. We'll get into that. So
that's what I'm referencing from. For the short time he was able to, but then again he wasn't, because then he couldn't really switch it off. But the time they wasn't when they had his daughter, whatever. So
that's when kayfabe was alive. Kayfabe was alive. Kayfabe was life.
Alive and well. We meet Gino's daughter, Alicia Gillespie, and she talks about going back to watch the promos and recognizing his voice because he passed away so young in her life. She didn't really have that many memories for them. And once again, this seems to be a constant theme of these Dark Side of the Ring episodes. Yeah. Kids that were left like way, way too soon in their lives. We also speak to another infamous talking head of season 1, Jake the Snake Roberts. And he talks about distinguishing his character from the real man and how this was a problem for Gino. They all discuss how the character became the man for Gino. He was in a great tag team with the gentleman Chris Adams, named the Dynamite Duo. Bruce talks about how his life was just as flamboyant as his character in the ring, talking about Gino. And David Manning discusses a huge match that the Dynamite Duo took part in, facing the Von Erichs in a hair versus hair match. They showed the highlights of the match and the post-match and how much the fans were so into Gino getting his comeuppance and getting his head shaved there. Top guy, JJ, what's your thoughts on what we saw from like the Dynamite Duo with Chris Adams, and basically to talk about Gino, his character kind of bleeding into his real life?
For tag teams that don't know how to cut promos, they need to watch those vignettes, because that's just two dudes just cutting it raw. Talk about they bad to the bone. They do whatever the hell they want when they want. They act how they want and just do whatever do anything that they see fit. And they were like some OG heels. Like they were some OG heels, and this is just who they were. And it was really cool to see that, especially for such an early time back then, because personalities is what made you back then. You had to be a personality back then, and then you get a main card spot with the Von Erichs, like you doing something right. And that and obviously everybody's gonna be invested in that hair versus hair. Like you can't see the Von Erichs and they golden locks get shaved off, so you can't see the heroes get their heads chopped off, like So it was really cool to see. It was really nice to see, and to see how far they were getting in this world of wrestling without really having many avenues or people to get them ushered in. It was kind of nice to see because he was literally, he was the first of his generation, right?
Oh well, no, he's second generation.
Second
His
generation.
stepfather. It's technically
Yeah,
technically his stepfather. His stepfather was a professional wrestler.
yeah. Okay. And just to see how the dynamic the dynamic duo, which I love, I just love how they were so opposite of what the Von Erichs were, and it just made such great epic television at that time or event, whatever it was, if it was aired, because I'm not sure. This is back in the 80s. Not sure if this was aired.
This was World Class Championship Wrestling, and if we learned anything from the last episode with the Von Erichs, it was definitely on television in Texas.
Yeah, I was saying I'm not sure if this was aired, but it's good to see that they had got a spot with obviously the hottest thing that was going on with the Von Erichs. And yeah, like you see that they were going places. They were definitely going places, which leads to other things that happened with them. And they were just some pioneers of some really good entertainment spots.
Yeah.
For the undercard wrestlers, because that's what we needed. We needed some stuff other than the super dog main eventers and the over the top people that we were getting. This was cool to see. This was really great to see, honestly.
So after this big matchup, we more divulge into Gino's personal life, and we meet Jeannie Williams, who played Lady Blossom and was actually a neighbor for Gino Hernandez. This moves us to the drug use, in particular cocaine use of Gino. Jeannie talks about Gino coming to her house and them going to the club together, and Jeannie is given acid by Gino without Gino even telling her. She speaks about how she didn't know, but soon found out as she was walking through the club. David Manning talks about how wrestling is like the mob, and once you're in, you're in. But sometimes that can go terribly, terribly wrong. We also talked to Jake the Snake Roberts, who is asked about the people Gino hung out with, and he seems very hesitant to even say who they are for sure. And if Jake the Snake Roberts is hesitant to say something, Gino's hanging out with some pretty rough people.
Word. That is a fact. Yep. He's like, you know what?
He looked so hesitant to even talk about this stuff. I was like, I liked how his role was because he just looked hesitant. Like he looked like somebody who's gonna get him if he said something about them 30-something years later.
Facts. So Janice talks about his wife, Gino's wife, talks about her being nervous about the people that Gino ran with. She felt that they were very dangerous. We see highlights going back to the ring of Gino turning on Chris Adams, leading to a huge rivalry between the two in World Class Championship Wrestling. There is an angle where Gino blinds Chris, and Adams sells the injury in real life to bring realism. This is one of the great things that I loved about 80s and 90s professional wrestling is that they had to keep the kayfabe outside of the ring to really sell these stories. Like we've heard stories of like the Sandman faking his own blindness in Philadelphia during the ECW angle with Tommy Dreamer. So this is like the precursor to that. We then go back to his mother, Patrice, who discusses how nervous Gino started acting the last time she saw him. David Manning discusses a story where Gino comes to him for a gun due to being paranoid, thinking someone was trying to kill him. David said that this was the last time he saw Gino. So what are your thoughts on like Gino's paranoia? And have you ever been had any friends who had like extreme paranoia like this, Chrissy?
Only when they're high.
Makes sense.
Other than that, it's something where the drugs kind of like take over your system. Now you start acting a certain kind of way, and now you feel like people are out to get you, or your character is now playing a different side, and now you feel like you need protection because you got to keep looking over your shoulder and you don't know what to do. So it's unfortunate that some people do have these issues, and sad that they couldn't get the help that he couldn't get the help that he needed, unfortunately. But friends wise, only when they have weed in their system they want to act paranoid. You like, oh, I have an edible, and you like, know what? You can't get none no more, friend. Gotta be that friend and be like, just pat you on the leg and don't give you any more.
like pat you on the leg and move on, all right?
Yeah, you bring down my high now. Now I gotta like watch over you, and I don't want to do that. Like you messing up the system.
I'd rather just have some fun.
Right.
David says that Gino missed a show in Oklahoma, which was strange for Gino because even with his crazy lifestyle, he never really missed shows. His mother says that his manager called her on her birthday, which was February 5th, to ask where he was. Jeannie says his next door neighbor that we talked about before says that she saw his car was parked out of alignment, and then she thought nothing of it until she said that it was the same way the next day. She went to knock on the door, but no answer. David then had someone, after talking to the office, had someone go over to Gino's house, but of course they had to connect with Gino's manager, Walter. Walter and the person looked inside the window, and all they saw was a body on the floor. So Walter opened up the house, since he was the only one with keys to the house, and found Gino's body there. The police said that his body had been there for 4 to 5 days. Walter calls Patrice and tells her that Patrice, of course, frantic, wanting to know what is going on with her son, says that Gino is dead. And then he slowly hangs up, leaving Patrice to scream in terror. Only a gun was found on site. There was apparently drug use, drugs found in the system of Gino. Patrice talks about a man with a cowboy hat, which we would learn the name of is John Royal, who was a friend of Gino's, comes to her house shortly after Gino's passing to say that she was going to pay. He says to Patrice that he is going to pay for Gino's funeral. Gino's mother says that it felt like more of a threat than a generous offer. John Royal basically tells her that Gino owed him a lot of money, but he doesn't care about that he's still going to pay for the funeral. She said that there was no remorse or sympathy, and that she read that off of him from eye-to-eye contact. So, Top Guy JJ, what's your thoughts on this whole scene with John Royal coming by Patrice's house?
Yeah, I felt like I was watching like The Godfather or something. Like this was like what the fuck? Like, so seeing, all right, so playing back that, and then his body being found, and then the gun is there. So did they even check to see if the gun was used? Was there any fingerprints on it? Did they was it used during this situation? Was there any bullet wounds on him, which they didn't get into at that time? And then this conversation, she read him, but her conversation that she had in her head, that's her story. She's sticking to it. And that's what she said, like what he said to her, and that's what she got out of it. And yeah, I mean, clearly, and then she was like, the way he was pointing at her, like your son owed me a lot of money, but I don't care about that because I'm gonna pay for the services.
It's like he's saying something nice in the most intense.
And it was like, damn, okay. So this is what all of this paranoia has led to. Obviously, this is what it's feeling like the paranoia is leading to. Like something was gonna happen to him. Yep. And then literally a very short time after this occurs, and then how cold Moms was treated. Like, she was just told that her son is dead and hung up. Ended. Conversation's over. Like, is there anything I could do? I'm so sorry. Nothing. Like, literally.
Yep.
So now it's like she's screaming. Now she's got to also figure out what the hell just happened to her son.
It is very sad, but you could tell that I think from this whole story and then what we would learn later, this is the start of where we started to kind of see that Gino's paranoia got got put on to his mom after him passing. It felt like.
Yeah.
Janice, his wife, talks about the service being very nice. Bruce Pritchard, though, talks about men taking a toast with champagne and how the funeral felt so surreal. Pritchard said that it was so weird and no one had a clue who any of the men taking the toast or any of the people speaking at the funeral were.
Yep.
John Royal does the liturgy at the funeral
Like,
and is the
what?
and is
See, I
What?
swear, it's like
Yeah,
a single.
how you got a whole family at a funeral, but you don't know anybody. You don't know who's delivering the eulogy. You don't know who's speaking on him. But this service is being held by a bunch of people that I don't know who they are.
Yep.
yo mom's is like if y'all gonna pay for it, I
You know, bet. All right, cool.
I all right, cool. You want to do the liturgy? All right, cool.
I'm just gonna come there looking like money.
Exactly.
Like
Like,
what you said. Yep. I'm coming there looking because that's what Gino would want me to do.
yep. Want me looking good. So Patrice says that she confirms that it was John Royal who did the liturgy and that he did pay for all the bills for the funeral. And she believes that John Royal is in prison right now as she speaks during this episode. So many stories have come out about Gino over the years on how his death came to be. Because of the rivalry with Chris Adams, which we mentioned earlier, world-class championship wrestling fans contacted Chris had contacted the authorities about Chris being a suspect in the murder of
Did it?
Gino Hernandez. Yes. This is how
Kayfabe
good.
was real.
How good
Kayfabe
Kayfabe
was
was in the
real.
80s. Listen
Like,
to it.
He he took his eyesight, so he's the one that killed him.
So great.
Crazy.
So great. It's like the Kevin Sullivan Chris Benoit rivalry and how people thought he was involved in that. And honestly, sometimes kayfabe can trigger us fans. None of the family members were ever allowed to see the body of Gino after his murder. Only his manager Walter was allowed to see him after his death. Patrice says that this is the first time that she has been able to talk to anybody about this. She does her own investigation regarding his death because she feels like the police are kind of like dragging their feet. And David Manning believes as well that there was foul play involved with the murder of Gino Hernandez. The autopsy report that says that that his body was there in the apartment for a while. It said that he had more cocaine in his body than it would take to overdose. Wow. The report also said that Gino was Hispanic, which his mother says he was not. Hernandez was just a wrestling name. The autopsy said that he was an uncircumcised male, which also his wife confirmed he was not. She was married for him for a couple of years, and he was not circumcised. No, he was in fact circumcised. She says. She also says that these miscues on the report made her also question that it was even Gino to begin with. Janice speaks about maybe Gino faked his death and talks about this television show where Gino like talked about faking his death and reference to it. Janice, but after all these years, and, the more and more she learned, Janice does believe he was killed. Jake the Snake Roberts says that he could have definitely seen Gino faking his death or something happening where Gino was in protective custody due to the people that he was involved with. So what is your thoughts on the possibility and all this different theories that went on after Gino Hernandez's death, Chrissy?
It's like an episode of Dynasty / Unsolved Mysteries. You understand what I'm saying? Like you go to the funeral, it's like a big old soap opera scene from like in the 80s, like mom's all dressed up like at the Dynasty, but then it's an unsolved mystery now. And now we're trying to get all the pieces to the puzzle together because the stuff ain't adding up. And it's like, well, damn, like what is the lady supposed to do? Like this is her son, and like all of these things is wrong, and like who is she supposed to like go to? The police won't do nothing. So like she said, she had to do her own investigating to figure out what's happening. And it's like, did someone legit like really murder her son? And like she said, if he was still alive, he would have called his mother by now.
Yeah.
If anything, they don't give a damn about nobody else, but they gonna call their mama.
It's true. It is true.
They don't have to call no one in the world. They won't even call their kids, but they calling their mama.
Bro, this was negligence at its finest. First of
Right,
all, whose body was that? Because
right.
that damn sure wasn't his. Like whose was that? Like, come on, man. Let's keep it real. Like, yo, how they gonna fuck that many areas up?
The him being Hispanic, I could see, maybe his facial features, you think that, but
Right.
the circumcised and uncircumcised, that's when I was like,
Like, whose
well,
body is that? Whose body is
that's
that?
a huge error.
They
That
making
is a
it sound like
huge error.
they investigated a skeleton. Like he was dead for like 2 months or something, and his body just corroded or something. Like, yo, bro's been there for like 72 hours.
Yeah.
Nah, that wasn't him. That's first question. That's what I said. Some more questions and answers because I want to know whose body they fucking examined because that shit clearly wasn't his.
It's another mystery and a question that we can have at the end of this. Jeannie talks about the intense paranoia that Gino was experiencing in his final days. She speaks of one case where she was at Gino's house, being his next door neighbor, and he let the water run from the faucet to the point that it was running onto the floor. While Gino stopped her from turning off the water when she went to stop it and grabbed his gun. She was so scared and nervous at the time, but then she looked at like Gino's face and she could tell that he found comfort in the sound of the running water drowning out his paranoia.
Mm-hmm.
Sad story. Jake the Snake Roberts with quite possibly the best soundbite of this entire episode of Dark Side of the Ring. He is asked by the producers, "Did you know Gino had any issues with drugs?" And how did he respond, Chrissy?
He was like, "Yeah, he had drugs because I was doing it with him." Duh. Like if it wasn't for his mother, he'd be the second person that get like the MVP of the whole episode. I swear. Like his and everything. Like he's like, was he doing drugs? Like, duh, he was. I was with him.
It wasn't no little bit of drugs either. It wasn't no 8-ball.
Right.
he was like shrugging and stuff. It was just funny. Patrice talks about, the saddest case in this the biggest victim of this whole thing, talks about how she has had to live with the same paranoia that Gino was experiencing ever since Gino's death. And then and this is like and we've heard a bunch of great stories throughout this episode chronicling his career and what happened after his death. But this last part, honestly, it's the best part of this entire episode, and probably some of the most riveting minutes of this entire season 1, because Dark Side of the Ring goes out of their way to get a phone call with the mystery man in the cowboy hat, the man that made Patrice feel threatened, Mr. John Royal. Yeah. John Royal has spent 30 years in prison for drug trafficking. Dark Side of the Ring producers approach Mr. Royal, and we hear this phone conversation between Mr. Royal and the producers of Dark Side of the Ring. John Royal says that Gino did not owe him any money, unlike what Patrice said. Royal tells a story about being with Gino the night that he died. He says that Gino was doing drugs and left with some airline stewardess. An anonymous drug trafficker is also approached by Dark Side of the Ring producers, and they are basically don't want to be involved in this that they have to remain anonymous, and they are only introduced as anonymous for this piece. They show this footage to Patrice and her best friend that is watching it there with her. The anonymous drug trafficker says that he became friends with Gino, and he said that he and Gino used to traffic drugs together. John Royal says that he was on trial for giving Gino drugs that made him die. Anonymous believes that the drugs got a hold on Gino. He believes that Gino was at the club drinking and then came back home and overdosed on drugs at home to his death. Anonymous pleads with Gino's family that there was no foul play involved, and he says that Gino was taken from them due to his own doing, sadly. Patrice feels comfort from hearing this, knowing that it is indeed the truth. Bruce Pritchard kind of chimes in at the end and says that he wants to believe that this was all an accident. Patrice also says that she forgives John Royal after hearing this from the anonymous drug trafficker. And Leisha, his daughter, says that her grandmother has had to live such a sad life and admires her for everything that she has been through. Patrice ends it off saying that she feels so good and feels that a burden has been lifted from her that she's gonna go and she wants to have a margarita. So, and, and
Oh,
we end and we end this documentary, this great episode of Dark Side of the Ring, with his daughter Alicia talking about how she looks like her dad and that she has 5 kids and that each of them has a little piece of Gino in them. So it was a very nice, happy ending that they have found some sort of peace in their life after hearing from this anonymous drug trafficker and kind of getting closure and finally opening up about the death of gorgeous Gino. So what was your final thoughts on all of this regarding the interview with John Royal, the anonymous drug trafficker, and kind of the finding of peace for the family? Top guy, JJ.
I didn't believe a word that either one of them said.
I thought it was
Like
just
I ain't
me.
believe a. I'm like, yo, this is classic hook, line, sinker. Yo, we just collaboed. And listen, I'm gonna listen to what my boss just told me. Boss man still run shit 30 years later. Big boss told me to make sure to give the family some comfort. Of course, John gonna act like he ain't do nothing because he didn't do nothing in his own world. I ain't believe a fucking word that any one of them said. I'm like, yo, these are just straight mob bosses just giving the family some comfort and trying to leave them at peace. Like I was like, wow, like this is nuts. Like, yo, the fact that you know what, if moms is at peace with it, then you know what, that's all we could do. But at the same time, I ain't believe a fucking word that either one of them said. Not a single fucking word that either one of them said. Like they literally just try to take all the weight off their shoulders and try to take all the blame off them so they could feel at peace. Like fuck out of here. I did not believe anything that they said.
How about you, Chrissy?
I thought I was the only person that felt the same way like JJ. Because I was like, y'all said he was murdered and they had found a gun, but now they're saying that he like it was all drug related. I don't believe, like, why now you want to call and say, oh, let Miss Patricia like hear that he like overdosed, like you knew, if you knew you was with him all them years ago, why you ain't been saying something to her? No, what you did was threaten her saying that he owe you some damn money. Foolishness. And it's just, it's sad because I really don't believe that man overdosed on no drugs. But what do I know? I'm not a coroner. I don't know. So
I mean, I more believe the anonymous drug trafficker more than John Royal. Nothing that John Royal said in the way that he said it sound like it was even remotely the truth. He sounded like he was trying to sell. How did Gino didn't know me no money? Like it was just the tone, the
He thought
tone
I
in which
he thought I caused him harm. Yo, that's why I didn't believe none of them, yo, because one was like, one was like, I don't know nothing, boss. I don't know nothing. And then here's the other one holding her over her shoulder, hand over the shoulder, trying to give her some comfort. Baby boy, beautiful lady, your baby boy, he wasn't involved in none of that. He just wrong move at the wrong time. Like, fuck out of here, nah, bro, no.
I'm more of to give credence to the words that the anonymous drug trafficker said because he was anonymous, so he had every opportunity to tell the truth. So he could have told the truth without any type of
Nah,
consequence.
Royal knew who that was.
No, maybe
yeah.
maybe
Royal knew
John
who
Royal.
that was. Royal
John
knew who
Royal.
that was.
He seemed like a tycoon owner. He seemed
Royal
like
was
the
a
boss from
motherfucking boss.
Dallas.
Royal was motherfucking Rob Soprano. Like that's what Royal's a boss.
Oh
30
man,
years later, still running shit.
John Royal is honestly one of the best antagonists that they have told us about in this Dark Side of the Ring series, for sure. He's below Vince McMahon, of course, but he is somewhere in the top. He is somewhere in the top five
Yeah.
of antagonists of the Dark Side of the Ring series. So, what are you guys' final thoughts on this episode of Dark Side of the Ring, and where do you place it in the ranking for all the episodes of season one? Chrissy Love,
Ranking. This was what, episode 5, right?
believe so.
Five.
I would leave it at 5.
Whoa, word.
Yeah.
So
I think.
you mean it's not better
Oh
than the
wait,
Montreal Screwjob?
you know what? You're right. Okay. Okay, 4.
So it's only better than the Montreal Screwjob?
Well, I mean, I like the match made in heaven. Now, the Von Ericks was one of my was the favorite one. That's number 1 for me. The screw job is definitely last, which is 6. So yeah, I give it 4.
I'm gonna go a little bit higher, and I'm gonna say it is right below the Bruiser Brody episode and the Von Erichs. It is number 3. It is the third best episode. I felt like I was watching First 48. I felt like I had to put this murder mystery together, and that was quite riveting of an episode to watch, and it kept me going. For every time I saw the Dark Side of the Ring logo representing a commercial, I was like, "Oh, come on, get back to it. Let's go. Let's go. I want to hear what happens next." That's how I felt. So I have to give it top 3 status.
Okay.
Top
JJ?
that, JJ?
This would have been number 2 if there would have been a conclusion. It's number 4 because this is exactly like how you said. This is literally like an episode of fucking Law and Order CSI Unsolved Mysteries with no conclusion to come. This shit does not have a conclusion. So this is number 4 to me, easy, because I mean, there's no episode that's gonna be worse than the Screwjob episode. There's no episode in this entire season is gonna be worse than that one. So everything is gonna be above that, as long as there's a dialogue and there's a story behind it. But this is a solid 4 to me, easy, because I ain't get no answers, bro. Like I got all I got was my head fucked up, and me wondering more than what Mom Dukes was thinking for 30 years. Now I'm like, who the fuck killed Gino? Because now you got John Royal just got himself cleared up, and Anonymous just cleared up Royal and himself. Like, nothing was answered.
I think we got answers from the anonymous drug trafficker. And I just feel like this was better than the match made in heaven. I didn't learn anything new from the match made in heaven. One person provided new content for that. Everything else you already knew. You guys even already knew. It was literally, if it was literally an hour of Linda Hogan, then maybe we would have learned something new in that episode. But we only got Linda Hogan for about 15 minutes, so the other 45 minutes was everything that WWE has covered 1,000 times.
I feel you, bro. That's our story, and we sticking to it. Negligence 101, man.
I'm just saying that's our countdown. You got yours, we got ours.
Fair enough. We want to know what you guys think and where you place the mysterious death of Gorgeous Gino in the hierarchy of all the episodes of season 1 of Dark Side of the Ring. So put those down in the comment section below. Tell us what you thought of the episode, The Mysterious Death of Gorgeous Gino. And if you have gone out of your way to watch the past career of Gorgeous Gino Hernandez, because it was quite a fascinating look back on a man that had a very, very infamous career and tragic death. Any other last notes before we wrap this episode up, guys?
Gino was awesome. Like, I just wish that we got more of Gino, man, because Gino was Hall of Fame worthy. Gino was a Hall of Fame worthy talent, man. I just wish that he was able to get more years into the business, because he was definitely Hall of Fame worthy.
Definitely.
That's my closing thing on it. I just wish we had more years of Gino, man. Damn, not even 30 years old.
Yes, it is sad that he was gone too soon, but Man, what a story. What a story for sure. Join us back next Wednesday right here on the True Hill Heat YouTube channel as we review our final Dark Side of the Ring episode for the season 1 finale as they discuss one of wrestling's most controversial figures, the fabulous Moolah. The fabulous Moolah and everything that gone on with her career and
It's gonna be a
why the WWE had to change the name to the WrestleMania Battle Royal all those years ago. We will find out right here next week on the season finale, the season 1 finale of Dark Side of the Ring, and we will be joined by none other than Lucy T, WWE,
nice.
our special guest for the season 1 finale. So join us
Nice.
back here next Wednesday.
I can't wait to
So,
see Chrissy's reaction to why this thing got changed into the fallopian tubes trophy. I can't wait for this one. I can't wait for this one.
gonna be a good time. So, for the princess of all the True Hills, Miss Chrissy Love. For our resident True Hill alcoholic, Top Guy JJ. It is me, your True Hill Phenom SP3. This has been Dark Side of the Ring Season 1 review for The Mysterious Death of Gorgeous Gino. We are signing off until next time.